Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Junior National Young Leaders Conference Q&A webinar. I'm Brooke Wagner. I am one of the program managers for the conference.
My name is Joe Thompson, the other program manager for the Junior Conference.
We'll be here answering questions throughout the entire webinar. It's about 90 minutes tonight. And we also have our program coordinator here, Taylor. She's off to the side. She's going to be writing down notes and passing them to us while she's monitoring the question box there to the side. And we'll be answering those questions as we receive them. And then we also have Leslie monitoring the question box and answering questions as they come up and as she can answer them. Again, it's about 90 minutes. We will do our best to get to every single question that we can, whether it's verbal out loud or responding directly in that question box. The dialog box is going to be to either the right or left of your screen. You can write questions whenever they come up during the webinar. And
shoot them over. We'll be happy to answer.
Also, in that box, you should see some handouts. There are copies of the schedules in there for residential and day scholars. They are our published schedules at this point, but just want to let you know that they are also tentative. Just should things come up during the summer, weather, changes in the DC area for parades or what have you, stuff is always going on. So tentative, they are subject to change.
Absolutely.
And then, so Joe and I are quickly going to run through this slide deck. The slide deck is also in a PDF version as a handout. If you want to download it and reference it at any time, just run through those slides. It's all of the frequently asked questions that we get throughout these webinars. And so feel free to follow along as we quickly run through that. And then we're just going to put it on rotation. It's going to be on loop. Each slide is going to play for about 30 seconds, then flip to the next one, and it will be on rotation the entire webinar.
Absolutely. So if you see any questions that aren't answered on the slide decks, add them to the question box, and we'll be happy to give an answer. All right.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. So, there we go. All right. One thing to point out in these slides down at the bottom left corner is the Office of Admissions phone number. If there is at any time information for extenuating circumstances or you need more detail about something, that is the phone number to call. After the webinar, you'll speak to one of our admissions officers. They will chat with you, get some more detail, and then they'll relay the information to us, and we'll make sure that that you get the answers that you need for anything.
Absolutely. These are your helpful friends that will have all of the information that we have here. So if there's anything that we missed in this 90-minute section, please feel free to call that office.
All right, so the first slide that we have here is travel. We're quickly just going to touch the bullet points of these, and then we'll get to answering those dialogue box questions. So the first slide here is travel. One thing we do like to point out is that parents are not allowed to ride the shuttle bus that we offer to students. So you all will need to arrange your own transportation to and from the airport should you arrive with your scholar. This slide also has the flight arrival and departure time windows, and all of our flights arrive and depart from BWI Airport. And then all of the arrival and departure window information for those of you that are driving.
All right, and here's some brief information on traveling as an unaccompanied minor, which I'm sure most of our scholars will be flying as this particular summer. There was an unaccompanied minor or flying as a first-time flyer webinar that happened a little bit earlier today. So if there isn't any information here that helps you out or that speaks directly to your scholar, the recording for that webinar, and if you missed it, the recording for that webinar will be out shortly.
There we go. Okay, and like we said before, the schedules are connected to this webinar as handouts, and we did get a question, will handouts be emailed? We will not be emailing them to you all, but we will try and get them uploaded onto the student portal. The schedules are already on the student portal. There should be sorry, we're just adjusting the sound. We're getting some comments that you all can't hear us very well, so sorry for that interruption. Okay, hopefully that's a little bit better. All right, the handouts should already be, or the schedule should already be on the student portal as PDF documents. Again, the tentative schedules. You can access those by logging into your student account.
All right, sleeping rooms. So this particular slide has information on both of the housing locations that the Junior National Young Leaders Conference will be operating out of this particular summer. The information here speaks directly to the type of room that your students will be sleeping in, as well as the services that are provided. We have a question here that speaks to the sleeping rooms. The question is, can parents go to the hotel rooms when dropping off? That is a part of our registration process. If families are dropping off students on arrival day, you all will have the opportunity to go in, check out the hotel or the sleeping space, decorate it and set it up as you see fit, and to hopefully meet the roommates that have already signed into the program. So absolutely, we do allow all family members as well as the students to check out that room and make sure that the accommodations fit you all.
Hotels for families. So unfortunately, we are unable to make a broad spectrum recommendation for hotels and accommodations here in the DC metro area, just because the desires and travel needs and resources of families varies so much. So we can't make specific recommendations. We do suggest Yelp or hotels.com or something like that. The reviews are very current and up to date and very, very true for the area. But we do have this special offer. We have the Sheraton Pentagon City Hotel that is just south of the DC area in Virginia, right across the bridge from DC. And one of our other programs at Envision runs out of this hotel, and Sheraton has been wonderful to offer us during certain sessions some hotel rooms at a special price of $165 per night. There's a special promotional code information that you'll need to get, and to get that information, you'll need to call the Office of Admissions. Each of these sessions has a very specific promotional code that's linked to those dates. So the Office of Admissions advisors will have that information for you when you call in. Unfortunately, there are no exceptions to these dates. So if your scholar is attending any other session outside of session 1 at 4-H, 2 at UMUC, session 7 at 4-H, or session 8 at UMUC, the Sheraton will not be able to extend this offer to any other dates outside of that range.
Very well said. All right, for those of you who will be staying in the DC area, we do look forward to having you all here. Here are some transportation opportunities or the best ways to get around the city, as well as some of those places that you have to stop by and visit, especially if this is your first experience here in our nation's capital. Make sure you take the time to visit www.wamata.com for schedules and maps for our DC Metro. All right, hopefully you come and have a great time.
Medical and dietary needs. We get a lot of questions about emergency medications like inhalers and EpiPens and diabetic insulin equipment that is needed. any of that emergency medicine or medical equipment that is needed is permitted to be with the student. We don't have them turn that in and give full control to the nurse. All that emergency medication is able to be kept with the student. For dietary needs, please go ahead and fill out the student information form and medical authorization and information form on the student portal with as much detail as you can. We can make accommodations for dairy-free, lactose intolerance, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, and celiac, kosher, halal, food allergies, and any kind of avoidances that your students have. If there's anything outside of that that is an extenuating circumstance and that you feel you need to get some more detail for a schedule or something like that, please go ahead again, reach out to the Office of Admissions, give them a little bit more detail, and one of us will probably follow up to make sure that we can get the right food for your student as they're here at the program with us.
All right, and this is part 2 of the Junior National Young Leaders Post-Enrollment webinar. During our first webinar, there were a couple of categories that we felt like we should hit on today and pick up where we left off. The first being technology. We wanted to make sure our families understand that our scholars will be allowed to carry their cell phones at all times, and they will have instances where they will be able to connect with you all back home. But in case of an emergency, please know that you have our contact as well as your scholar's phone if need be. The only time where scholars will not be allowed to have technology is when we are on Capitol Hill. Scholars may also choose to bring in a tablet. Most of our curriculum is research-based. However, this is not mandatory because they will be provided in most instances. Spending money, while not mandatory, is important. We know that you all would like to have souvenirs come back with your students. We will have opportunities for our scholars to shop and enjoy the opportunities that are there in DC. In order to do so, the best way, and I think the best way for us to keep up with, or for your students to keep up with those dollars, is to have a debit or credit card handy. Please, please, please have a conversation with your scholars about money management. Our Envision staff are not responsible for their spending money, but we will be able to help them with the best ways to actually spend. And last but not least, here's our dress code. Solid white, khaki, and navy tops or bottoms is the standard for our dress code. Clothing brands and logos from your particular schools, those are acceptable as long as that's attached to a solid white or khaki and navy top. This particular dress code will be followed by all staff or students as well as management on site. And of course, we do recognize the fingertip length method of shorts and skirts. So if you have any other questions about dress code, drop it in the question box, especially if you don't see that information here. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so at this point, those are all the most frequently asked questions that we have. I'm going to exit out of this and then go ahead and put the slideshow on loop for everyone. And then we'll just go ahead and start answering those questions in the dialog box. We've got a couple that have come up so far that we're going to answer. Again, Taylor is here passing us some notes and monitoring the box. Leslie is answering them via computer and typing them in, and Joe and I will be addressing them aloud and maybe typing some in as we go. Sure, so we have another question about where the PDFs from the webinar can be accessed afterwards. We are going to hopefully get with our IT team and then get them uploaded to the student portal so you can access them there. So all the information should be there on your student portal right after this webinar is over.
Awesome. I have a question here about our travel window. The question is, we have a scholar whose plane will land about 20 minutes outside of our flight window. Will they feel behind, or will many students join that late? This is a special request that has happened a few times already this summer. So because it is on arrival day and most of our curriculum starts in the evening post dinner, your scholars will not feel behind if they arrive within that 20-minute window that's right after our travel window ends. We will have staff that will be there to meet and greet in the same way that we will for our published travel window for those one-off circumstances if you're not able to find a flight inside of the window. We do ask, if you know that your flight is going to be outside of that window, that you contact our Office of Admissions to get them to work with you on what that procedure will be for your scholar once they arrive. Again, that is if it's outside of our published travel window. It's a very good question.
Once scholars are back to their sleeping room for the night, can families meet up with them at their room or check them out for the night? So parents are not able to go to the sleeping rooms after the conference has begun, but you are able to go to our program office and speak with a staff member and check out your student temporarily should you want to have a dinner with them or just spend some family time with them, and then check them back in once that time is done at the end of the evening or the next morning, should your scholar want to sleep over with the family for a temporary period of time. So we do have a temporary checkout policy.
Absolutely. And I know we mentioned earlier that parents will have the opportunity to come to the sleeping rooms. That's happening during registration before your scholars are actually signed into our program, which means that they're with us for the entirety of the stay. Once that student has signed into our program fully, we are expecting the parents to work with our program office to make sure that they're able to connect with their scholars. All right, so we have a question about roommate requests. So there are scholars who are wanting to room together. Parents have called into admissions. Great job. Thank you for taking that step. And you all are, and we're waiting on a confirmation email.
It's 3 of them.
It's 3 boys. Awesome. So we're waiting on a confirmation email. What's going to happen is each one of the families will receive a request and that you all will have to fill out, stating that each individual family is okay with their scholar staying in the room with the other 2 or 3 individuals.
Mm-hmm.
So if you all are still waiting on the roommate request to be complete, we're probably waiting to receive information from the other family or families who have been sent that confirmation email. So what I would say is if you are in close proximity to these individuals, just call and connect to make sure that each family has received that email or that it hasn't reached your spam in any way. If we notice that you all have the email and it has all been filled out, contact our Office of Admissions and let them know, hey, we've turned in everything that we were supposed to turn in for the roommate request, and we'll be able to give you that confirmation verbally.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is different than our normal roommate request because this is 3 scholars. We do have roommate requests on the student portal for 2 scholars that would like to stay in a room together, but anything over 2, it's a bit complicated for our system to track, so we have you call in. All right, a parent will be dropping off 2 students, one who they are the parent and guardian of, and another student who is a buddy of their daughter. Is there anything needed as far as ID to drop off that student who is not their child? That's a fabulous question. In terms of dropping off for registration, no, we don't have an ID process, but we do have a check-in process where you will sign the scholar in, and they will sign themselves in. Just as long as you have all of your mandatory paperwork for both students, the whole process will go very smoothly. Though, if these are day scholars, we do need the name and the name of the person who is going to be picking up those scholars every day, and that name needs to match the photo ID of the person picking up those scholars every day. And the same goes for at the end of the conference for all students, residential and day. If somebody is picking them up, then we'll need the name that matches the photo ID.
All right, I love questions about newcomers. So a scholar who is a newcomer, do we have any tips for them to meet other scholars? Yes, I think the first tip is come to the program with an open mind and ready to meet new scholars, because as soon as you all arrive and sign into the program, the first thing we do is we will create a scholar hospitality and a scholar meet and greet for you all. So we'll make it easy. We'll put you guys in a room and let you do some team builders, icebreakers, and some challenging brain thinking games to get you acclimated to the program.
Sorry.
To get you acclimated to the program, as well as the staff and students who you'll be working with for the next 6 days. So yes, have an open mind, be ready to interact, because we're going to put you in position to get to know some new people, and we'll make it very, very easy for all of our newcomers.
Great. When visiting Capitol Hill, where are the scholars' phones stored? Capitol Hill, there is obviously some security involved with going into the Capitol Visitor Center and the floor of the House of Representatives for the older students who are at the 4-H. And so we have staff members that will label bags for each group of students. So a group of students of 15 to 17 students will have one advisor during the group who is their teacher and facilitator throughout the whole conference. So that advisor will have a bag labeled with everybody's electronic devices, as well as any kind of metal like change or change purses or belts, because belts can't go through, or anything like that that's going to set off the smart watches, anything like that. It's all going to be labeled, and then it stays with our staff members outside of the floor of the House of Representatives and outside of the Capitol Visitor Center. We'll have a handful of staff members that stay outside of that area and monitor those items while the kids are getting that amazing experience.
All right. What time does the program actually end? And it gives a day of the week, but I'll talk about each day of our program. Typically for arrival days and for your first day of arrival, all the way through the day before departure, those days typically end around 9 p.m. as late as 9:30 p.m. with some structured roommate time and rec time and free time for the scholars at the end of the night. On our final day, we do our overnight excursion. So for those day scholars who will not be attending our overnight stay, the program will end around 4 to 4:30 p.m. for you all. And for our students who will be attending the overnight stay on our final day of the program, our program will wrap up at about 9 a.m., which means all of our students will either be back at our housing site by 10 or at the airport, the BWI airport, for departures by 9:30 a.m. Very good question.
Great. We've had a handful of questions come through again about the dress code. And a couple of minutes ago, I realized that the slideshow wasn't on rotation, so I put it on rotation. So all of our most frequently asked questions, again, for anybody who's just joining, are now on rotation on these slides. There is a slide that addresses the dress code. But just again, quickly to touch on it, the dress code is solid white, navy, and khaki articles of clothing, tops or bottoms, they can mix and match. Polo shirts like this with the logo in the corner are totally fine, but we do like them to be solid, so without polka dots or stripes or anything like that. But logos or brands, that's totally fine. Shoulders need to be covered. Shorts and skirts need to be fingertip length, and then comfortable walking shoes. No flip-flops. If it's sandals, please make sure that there are heel straps on those sandals.
Absolutely. How many students come each week? So depending on which session and location, I believe our smallest group is about 250 students, where our largest group will have roughly 330 students. So nice size groups for us. That means we'll have anywhere from 13 actual small groups for your students to work in, all the way up to 18 groups for your students to work in. And we have another PDF or handout question. which handout is relevant for the July 6th through July 11th program. All of the handouts that we have will be suitable for each session of our programming. The draft schedule will match the days of the week, whether residential or day, as well as the other PDFs that we've uploaded here will match for each session that we have.
So yeah, so you'll see that one is for the National 4-H Center for the rising 8th and 9th graders, and that is applicable all summer. And then there's residential and day, and then UMUC for the rising 6th and 7th graders.
So it looks like July 6th through 11th is our 4-H program. So if you're looking for information for those dates, look for the housing site 4-H.
All right, I just saw a question pop up. Will the students need a dressy outfit? No, our dress code is applicable throughout the entire conference, and there's no need for any other outfits outside of that dress code. How will students get from BWI to the housing site? BWI, again, is the airport that we have everybody arrive and depart from, and there is a shuttle that will shuttle the students to and from. And there's more information on the shuttle on your student portal.
All right, some more roommate questions here. So if scholars are traveling with another scholar from their school, are they automatically going to be roomed together? The answer to this question is no. All roommates will be assigned will be assigned through our Envision process. If there is a student that you would like for your student to room with, you will have to fill out the actual roommate request on the student portal. Both scholars will have to fill out the roommate request on the student portal. And then how will we know if you've accepted roommate requests? You all will be sent confirmation emails that explicitly state who is going to be rooming with what scholar and that the approval has been accepted. So you all will receive that information in your email once both parties have filled out their respective requests.
Pre-program assignments. Saw a comment come up about what those pre-program assignments are. In our previous webinar of about a month or two ago, we had a slide that talked about those assignments, so we'll touch on them again now. So there are two things that the scholars will do before they arrive. One of them is our fuel report, and that is something that the scholars take to their mentors at school, and their mentors fill out those fuel forms, and it's feedback for emerging leaders. And those mentor comments will then be compiled, and the students will see them when they're here at the conference. They'll have a lesson on what they learned and how they can develop their feedback from those mentors. So that's one thing. The fuel forms. The second one is the PARIN survey, and PARIN is a survey that is going to assess 102 different qualities for your student, and those qualities range from it's all sorts of things.
I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. It's a new thing for this year. There's going to be 4 categories of those qualities that they're going to have an entire lesson built around, and it's qualities of introvert and extrovert, and
what are your emotional and social drivers, things of that nature that we're going to be learning about this particular summer with our students. But that pre-program coursework has to be done. It has to be completed by your scholars' arrivals in order for us to put together the academic side of that particular lesson. Will participants be allowed to swim after daily activities? Unfortunately, the housing sites that we have do not have pool access, as well as this is typically not something that our students are able to do here at Envision. A very jam-packed day that starts really, really early in the morning and wraps up pretty late in the evening. It doesn't allow for very much swim time. And unfortunately, the two sites or two locations that we won't have access to swim. If that changes, I'll let you know, because I think me and Brooke love swimming as well, and we'll be able to take advantage of those too. It's a good question. And then are scholars allowed to stay in the parents' rooms at the hotel? Very good question. We do have a procedure that Brooke touched on briefly called a temporary checkout. What a temporary checkout allows is for residential students who have a room assigned at our hotel to be able to check out of the program into the care of their parent. Once that student is checked out, they're in your hands, your liability. So if you're doing dinner or an overnight stay, all we ask is that the student is back and arrives on time for breakfast the next morning or the start of the curriculum components. And of course, you'll have the schedule as well as our program's office assistant to guide you for those times for check-in and check-out. But yes, your students are allowed to stay in the hotel rooms with you all as long as the proper temporary checkout procedures have been followed.
For the Maryland Science Center overnight experience, two-part question. What should you pack and bring with you? And if you are a day scholar, how can you sign up for it? So first, let's talk about if you're a day scholar, how can you sign up for the Maryland Science Center? On your student portal, there is an option to add an addition to, or add an add-on to your experience. It will also be in the category with a conference photo. You'll see the Maryland Science Center sleepover there, some curricular elements there. It's a whole list of things that you can add on to the program if you choose to. So day scholars, if you would like to add on that experience, you can do so, but just be aware it adds an extra night to your experience. And then what to bring with you. Please bring a sleeping bag and pillow with you, as well as pajamas. We'll explain this all to the scholars so that they know what to pack and bring with them. But we do definitely want a sleeping bag and a pillow, and then a day bag, a backpack or a drawstring bag or a tote bag, something small to put all of those things in so that they can have their big luggage already packed and ready to go. And that's an easy thing for them just to take into the museum with them.
We have a question about the word rising. So we identify the scholars for the Junior National Young Leaders Conference as rising 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th graders. So because the program is running over the summer, your scholars have just wrapped up a grade level, typically either 5th through 8th. So when they attend our program, they're rising to their next grade. So that's what we mean by rising 6th graders. They just finished 5th grade, and our rising 9th graders have just wrapped up their 8th grade semester. Good question.
I'm just seeing a question come up here. Sure. Is there a dress code for pajamas? So the pajama dress code is going to follow the same dress code, not in terms of colors, but is going to follow the same dress code as normal. So please have shoulders covered, shorts, fingertip length, and also maybe think about packing something that's long sleeve and long pants, just because it's a museum, it's a big space, air conditioning, things like that. So just think ahead, maybe want to layer with a sweatshirt or something like that to pack for pajamas, and then also just in the sleeping rooms.
Yeah, and speaking of the fingertip length rule, that is something that is very subjective. If the shorts or skirts look unusually high or look disruptively high, that's the opportunity for students to enact, or for our staff to enact, the fingertip length rule. So for our students who may have some longer arms, I know I have a couple of individuals in my family who are like that. The fingertip,
really tall.
Absolutely. The fingertip length rule, again, will be pretty much subjective for us to do. So your student who may have a little bit longer arms and their shorts are appropriately being worn, but their fingertips are longer, we will be able to move on without passing judgment. There's no problem with that at all. I appreciate you for asking.
And this is a great question and one that we get asked pretty frequently, and I think is important that we address. Can we be connected with other attendees leaving from your town before your student attends the conference? So we are unable to give out personal information for other people who are attending the conference. So unfortunately, we are not able to connect you with people in your area. But again, please do reach out to the teacher mentor that nominated your student, and or yourself, and chat with them, see if there's anybody else nominated from your school, and maybe you can get connected before you leave.
We have a question about Wi-Fi. Do the housing sites have free Wi-Fi, or do parents have to pay in addition? Our housing sites do offer Wi-Fi in the breakout spaces as well as the sleeping rooms. So no, there is no additional charge to the families to access Wi-Fi.
How often can everybody call or text home? We touched on it a little bit before. Our technology policy is very inclusive of technology. We use technology at the conference, and we encourage students to have their cell phones on them, to take pictures, to text back home, check in. So they can pretty much check in whenever they want. Outside of classroom time is what we say. So whenever they would like to check in with you when they're not with their advisor or working in a group setting, so that's every night, maybe during free times, maybe during meals, they're more than welcome to chat with you on the phone or text.
Absolutely, and we'll do our best to create opportunities for students to call or text. We'll also give reminders, especially at the end of the day when students are winding down for the night, for them to reach back out to you all, friends and family. We just don't be alarmed if your students are having so much fun that they're having a hard time reaching out to you all. So if you feel like you haven't heard from your student enough, you will please call our program office during the program and let us know, hey, you want to hear from your scholar, and we'll make sure to have an opportunity for them to reach out to you. So again, don't think that they're forgetting about you. They're just having an amazing time at our program. So let us know if you're ready or if you need to hear from them. Okay. If a scholar's flight leaves on departure day at 11:55 a.m., is that too early? Absolutely not. Our overnight stay is very, very close to the Baltimore Washington International Airport, or BWI. So the 11:55 a.m. flight time is within our flight window, or is very close, or is close enough to our flight window that it is right on time. That's a good flight time for us to manage.
Let's see. So okay. Wake up times and bedtimes. So the wake up times and sleep times do vary, because we do have some early mornings for visits like Harper's Ferry or the U.S. Capitol. Those are slightly earlier mornings, and that will be indicated on the schedule PDF that's here linked as a handout. So please take a look at those early morning days. If it's not a specifically early morning day, then breakfast will be from usually from 8 to 9. And so students are expected to be there at 8. So whatever time they need to wake up before that. And then bedtimes, again, if it's not, we have one later curriculum day, but all room checks are completed by 9:30 p.m. every day.
I saw a question here about what types of snacks are allowed. Are you all allowed to bring with your scholars? As long as your scholars are not bringing any peanuts or nuts snacks to the conference, we are a nut-free conference for some of those more severe allergies that we will have on site. The one ask is that you avoid those nut-based products in terms of snacks.
A couple of clarifying questions for technology. So again, bringing a smartphone, tablet, iPad is not mandatory. We will provide all the technology that is needed in terms of curriculum and for research. Had a question specifically about laptops. I would actually say leave laptops at home. There's no need for a laptop here. If you have a portable and easy to carry iPad or tablet that your student will use maybe at night to help them go to sleep, or they like to use it for research or something like that, they're more than welcome to bring it with them, but laptop might be a little too much.
Too much, yeah, definitely. A couple of airport questions here, so give me just a second. So we're looking for a little bit of an elaboration on when scholars arrive at the airport. So through our unaccompanied minor process, as well as the team that we send out and deploy to our airports, essentially what's happening is you all will be dropping your students off at the respective airlines. Once they board the flight and fly over safely to us, we'll have an individual who will be meeting your scholars at the gate and walking them down to our meeting location or baggage claim, making sure that all their basic needs are taken care of, bathrooms, bio needs, making sure that they've eaten and that they're ready to go, that they're meeting other scholars before we then board the actual shuttle to the housing site. So essentially, there is a 2 to 3 step process to get your student from the gate, where they will be chaperoned the entire way. Again, someone will meet them at the gate once they board the plane. We'll escort them through to our baggage claim process, where they will then meet other students and the rest of our Envision staff before boarding our shuttle and being driven over to our housing site. So in terms of shuttle usage, from the airport, there is a $35 fee for usage of our airport shuttle. And what's happening is once that payment is received, we will have a list of all of our students who are coming in through the airport, as well as how they will be arriving. From there, as long as we have that dollar amount already taken in, your students will board the shuttle and they will be chaperoned by 1 or 2 individuals, depending on the size of the bus, and will be escorted to the housing site to take part in a guided registration process. Unfortunately, we will not be able to give the direct contact number to the person who will be meeting your scholars at the gate. They're going to be moving so much, it's going to be difficult for them to handle those types of phone calls. So we want to keep that line clear for the team that's managing those individuals. What you will have is the contact information for the team that's actually managing those individuals. So if there are any concerns about your student, or have they arrived safely, what time they'll be actually leaving the airport, things of that nature, you will have the contact information for the management team who's running or who's handling the airport staff. Really good question.
All right, I've got a handful of questions here. So one, if you have currently signed up for the residential program and would like to switch to the day program, or vice versa, if you have signed up for the day program and would like to switch to the residential program, that can pretty much be done at any time. Just call our Office of Admissions and let them know that you would like to change. They will work through the financials of what that looks like. For changing, it will be different depending on the time frame. If this, again, we can do this at any time. Say a scholar has arrived and they've signed up for the day program, and on day 2 they're feeling super comfortable and would like to sign up for the residential program, they're more than welcome to do that. We'll find them some roommates and some buddies that they're close with, and hopefully try and get them matched up and roomed with somebody. that they're buddies with. And then if they are a residential scholar and would like to switch to the day program after day 1, day 2, maybe they're not feeling comfortable, or family is in town and you've actually decided you want to spend time together at nights instead of the scholar staying overnight, again, just call the Office of Admissions and we'll get it all sorted out and switched over. Is a backpack necessary? I would say yes. It's necessary. We do a lot of traveling to the monuments and memorials and museums, and so for the day trips and those field trips, we want the kids to have something to carry their phones in, or their cameras, a bottle of water, a hat or sunscreen, just things that they might need throughout the day. And then also just at the conference site, they're doing a lot of moving around in between rooms or meal times and things like that, and it just makes it easier for them to have a grab and go bag with all of their things in it. Absolutely.
Can parents attend the commencement ceremony? Yes, absolutely. This is a celebration for you all's patience with us and the care that we were allowed to give your students, as well as an opportunity for you all to recognize the hard work that your students will be putting in for the 6 days that they're with us. So definitely we love parent participation at our closing ceremony. It's for you all and to help us celebrate the hard work that your students have put in.
All right, I got some questions that kind of relate to one another. So where is the program office located? Each location will have their own program office. So the National 4-H Center will have a program office there on site. We will have signs there every day that have arrows and go this way for the program office, and our staff will also be available every day there to point you in the right direction. And also the College Park Marriott Hotel will have an office very close right there at registration. Same thing, staff members there to point you in the right direction. How many chaperones are going to be with the students, and are they in the immediate area of the rooms? Our student to staff ratio for our advisors, who are the facilitators and teachers of our curriculum, is our ratio is 1 advisor to every 17 students. So your student will be in a classroom of probably around 14 to 17 students. And those advisors are available all day. We also have a full support staff of about 15 people outside of those advisors that are in the classrooms all day. So those staff members are available at all times, and our staff stay on site with the students in the same building or hotel as the students. And we have nighttime staff that monitor the hallways and monitor the office during the evenings if anything should come up, an emergency, or they just need to talk to a staff member about something. And then again, during the days, our staff are always available in the office or in any of the classrooms.
Absolutely. Another question centered around pickups and drop-offs. So parents want to know what the location is for day scholar pickup and drop off. Typically, the pickup and drop off locations for day scholars are right near the registration area where you will be checking in your student to the program. Also, there's going to be an information sessions for friends and families where we will give direct information and direct locations, because there's the opportunity for that to change based off of how many groups or other organizations may be using the housing site where we'll be housed. So that location may change by session, but the information will be delivered to those families on our arrival day in a information session that we'll be running specifically for you all.
All right.
Let me take this one too. So
yeah.
For our bilingual families, is there anyone that can help us fill out forms that know Spanish? We do have bilingual agents down in our admissions office. So if you call our Office of Admissions, they will prompt you for English or Spanish or whatever language it is that you'd like to speak, and there will be an individual on the other end of the line who will be able to assist you in that manner. It's a good question.
Let's see, once scholars are assigned a dorm room, are they able to enter into other rooms? That's a fabulous question and something that we will go over in our Welcome to JrNYLC session at the beginning of the conference. It is part of our policies and code of conduct that no, the scholars are not allowed to go into rooms that are not their sleeping rooms. So once they get their assigned sleeping room, that's their room. We have hangout areas and rec areas and fields and basketball courts and scholar activities areas where everybody will be able to hang out together, but those hangout areas are not the scholar rooms. Will that basic information of name and age be shared with parents prior to arriving? And again, we are not able to give out that personal information of roommates, but with the way that our conference is structured, being UMUC with the rising 6th and 7th graders and the National 4-H Center with the rising 8th and 9th graders, everybody's within the same grade or age range. And if there is an exception, that is something that Joe and I as program managers have had to approve ahead of time. And we do all that we can to make sure that age and grade are matched as closely as possible.
Absolutely. And you'll see the same types of matching in sleeping rooms as well. So we try to keep students of a certain age together in those sleeping rooms as well. So you won't see older aged rising 9th graders in rooms with younger aged rising 8th graders. So we will keep in the sleeping rooms those like-minded ages, or similar ages, excuse me. My scholar was given a scholarship, but we cannot find out how to accept it. How do we go about this? The Office of Admissions has all of the information that you need that is related to scholarships or grants or things of that nature. So if you haven't already, call into the Office of Admissions, make sure you have your student's student ID, and we will be able to locate or apply said scholarship. That's a good question.
Let's see. This one is awesome, and I love this question. Yeah. What do you have in place for those students who do not know anyone to make them feel comfortable with who they are rooming with? On the very first day, pretty much the entire conference is revolved around icebreakers and getting to know each other. During registration, there is something that we call scholar activities. It's open during the entire 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. registration period. So once you enter into the conference and get your room assignment, you've moved into your room, you head to scholar activities, and there's board games and icebreakers and get to know you activities and a step and repeat to take pictures. There's going to be all sorts of fun things to do there. And that's when you could potentially be connected with your roommate for the first time. If you didn't have the opportunity to meet them while you are actually moving into your room, you can meet them there at scholar activities, and we'll have staff members there prompting different get to know you games and all sorts of things to make sure that everybody gets acquainted. And then also on that first day, our free time at night is actually structured roommate time is what we call it. So we'll give roommates a fun activity to do, and for 30 or 40 minutes before everybody starts to get ready for bed, you'll hang out with one another and get to know each other and hopefully have some good laughs and some good playtime there.
Absolutely. I have a question about the feedback for understanding emerging leaders, or our fuel report. The question is, how is it going to be sent in? Is it sent in by the mentor, or is the student responsible for bringing the report? It's a good question, but honestly, the answer is yes to both. Once your student is sent those pre-program assignments for fuel, that information is sent to the mentor and can be sent in for discretionary purposes. If your mentors do not have the ability to send those in, you can bring them in with you on registration day. There is a process and procedure in place for you all who bring them on our arrival day during registration. It is imperative for you all when you turn in your medical information, when you're turning in when you're giving us your information on how you'll be departing, that you turn in that fuel form as well at that point. Hopefully your mentors have them sealed up and you haven't been able to have an opportunity to take a look at it before you get here. We are asking for your honesty there. But yes, you can, the mentor has the ability to turn them in beforehand, or if you don't have that time or they don't have the ability for whatever reason, you can bring them in on day one of arrival and turn it in during registration.
Great. And I'm just going to do a time check right now. We've got about 35 minutes left in this webinar. We're going to keep on doing the same process that we have been doing. If anybody's new to the webinar, there are slides that are on a 30-second rotation with our most frequently asked questions. So please take a look at that. Again, there are handouts as part of the webinar. You can download those handouts. It's the schedules and also this PDF version of the webinar. All right.
I have a question here about delayed flights or missed flights. And with a delayed or missed flight, you may arrive outside of our travel window. That is okay. We do expect delays, we expect missed flights, and we are well equipped to handle it. What we need from you all is just a little bit of information. If you know that you will be delayed, if you know the flight's missed, if you have your new flight information, you'll be able to call into our program office. And what's going to happen is the team that is managing our airport staff will ensure that we have the information for the new flight for your scholar and that we have somebody who's readily available to accept and greet your student once they arrive in the same process that we've mentioned earlier today. But yes, there is a process in place for missed and delayed flights. We also will have our airport staff tracking flights. So before your flight is delayed, 9 times out of 10, we'll know about it at the same time as well, because as a part of our process, we'll be checking in on the many flights that are coming into our program on that particular day.
Yep. How do you access the student portal? If you have not yet accessed it, this is part of your nomination packet. You'll have a student identification number that you will go to the Envision website, and I believe it's in the top right corner. Hit the enroll button and then enter in that that student identification number, and it will give you all of the prompts to start your student portal. If for some reason you're having trouble accessing that, just call our Office of Admissions and they'll have all of your information and we'll be able to get you set up with that. Parent, it has a deadline, so when will it be available to complete? I believe it becomes available to start filling out on June 1st. And then everybody will get a reminder email 2 weeks prior to your program. So it's available for everybody here in about the next month. You can just go in and into the student portal and start filling it out. But you'll also get a reminder email to complete it about 2 weeks before your program.
Is there an orientation for parents on day 1? Yes, we will be doing a friends and family orientation to simply get you all acclimated with how to be away from your students for 6 days, what your students will actually be doing for the next 6 days, and for our parents who are a part of our day scholar program, we will give you information on proper check-in and check-out procedures. That particular orientation will happen 2 to 3 times depending on the size of the first 2 orientations in that window from 1 to 4 on arrival day. Typically, we like to start the friends and family orientation about an hour after registration has started to give you all enough time to get through our registration procedures, have an opportunity to check out your students' rooms and make sure that you get them all settled in and escort them down to Scholar Hospitality. From there, you will come down and take part in what we think will be a very engaging orientation for you all.
I'm seeing a question pop up right here that I think has something to do with just engagement. We've been talking about students and how they get acclimated and acquainted with one another. How do you keep the day students feeling a part of the whole group and not separate from the residential students. And so what we do is when we are grouping the students into their classroom groups, where that's who they're with all day and traveling with, we do that by day and residential. So those classroom experiences, you're either going to be paired with residential students or you'll be paired with day students to make sure that everybody has the same experience and feels incorporated and welcomed and everything like that. But then also there are plenty of times that groups will get to mix and mingle. So it's not an exclusive experience. It's very much an inclusive experience between those two groups of students.
Absolutely. How do you determine rooming assignments? And I'm going to answer this question from the standpoint of the sleeping room. Our program operations team does have an extensive matching process, but it starts on the first two levels. One, matching ages, matching correct ages. So we have students who are in a similar age range, typically the exact same age for our sleeping rooms. And then the next level starts with making sure that students who are in the same education groups or the same groups during academia, that they're not also paired up in the sleeping rooms. We want to make sure that the students have the opportunity to connect with all of the students at the program, and this is just another way that we ensure that's happening. So typically, if your student is learning and researching with certain scholars, that's the opportunity for them to connect with them, and they'll be meeting with other students in their sleeping rooms, and most of which are the exact same age.
Along with sleeping rooms, towels and toiletries. Linens and towels are provided, but we do suggest that if you want to bring an extra towel, we know that students like to sometimes use 2 towels instead of 1, so please pack an extra towel if you need it, and washcloths or washing sponges or anything like that, and do pack toiletries that you'll need. If your student likes a specific blanket or a specific pillow or something to sleep with, I know I like a very specific kind of pillow, so I always travel with it. So please, if it is something very specific that your student or yourself would really need when you're sleeping or bathing or anything like that, please pack it with you. But the basic linens and toiletries are basic linens are provided. No toiletries are provided.
Absolutely. I have a question about photos. First, photos, where are they found? We will have a couple of locations for photos this year. One is going to be a new application that we're rolling out called Waldo, which you all will get tons of information about in the next couple of weeks. What Waldo does is gives you the opportunity to buy into a system that identifies through facial recognition any photo that your student has found themselves in. So you'll always be able to find your students smiling or working faces. And we will also have some photo albums on Facebook that you all will be able to interact with. Who takes them? A number of people take photos at our programs. Our advisors inside of the small classrooms will be taking photos. We'll have a staff member on site who is in charge of taking as many photos as possible of our amazing program. And then we'll actually have some individuals from our company Envision who are coming out and will be taking some high profile photos of our students. Last but not least, we have the full group photo, which is a conference photo that includes every student in our program at one of the beautiful locations that we have designated for that particular photo. That photo is also available for purchase for the price of $25.
Bathrooms. Are there bathrooms in the sleeping rooms, and are there times specifically for bathing? Bathrooms are in every single one of the sleeping rooms. So at UMUC and at the National 4-H Center, they're both hotel style facilities. So each sleeping room has its own full bathroom. In terms of bathing times, we don't set aside specific bathing times, but the students will have times in the mornings and in the evenings in their rooms to put together a rotation with their roommates, and it has been done before. Should a reminder be needed for bathing, we will give it.
Absolutely. If your student is not coming to the program with a cell phone, they will be able to still call home. They would just need to come down to our program office and use the mini phones that we'll have available for them to use there. So yes, if they don't have a cell phone, they will still have the ability to call home.
Who keeps the room keys for the students? Each student is given a room key to their room that they're in charge of keeping track of. It's part of their responsibility and gaining their independence during the trip. Each student will also have a name badge that they'll wear every single day. It's part of our dress code. They'll be given it during registration, and that name badge is on a lanyard that they wear around their neck and has a clear plastic folder in it that pretty much the vast majority of our students will stick their room key down in there so that they don't lose it, or they'll put it in their wallet or backpack or something like that. If for some reason they do lose it or lose track of it, then they'll work with our staff members to get a new room key issued to them.
Couple of questions about dress code here. So sweaters, what color? Always white, navy, or khaki. And are jumpsuits acceptable? As long as your jumpsuit is not a denim jumpsuit and it is navy blue, white, or khaki, absolutely.
Will water bottles be available to scholars? So yes, we will have bottles of water on the buses for any trip that we make, and then at each housing location, there are water fountains in areas where the students can fill up their water bottles. We do have water coolers in every single one of the classrooms, and as part of the swag that everybody gets when they first arrive to the conference is they'll get a drawstring backpack and a water bottle.
Absolutely. Let's see. There's a question about what are the forms that are needed to be completed before arriving to the program? Once you have access to your student portal, the first thing you'll see there once you access it is an actual checklist that lists all of the things that you'll need to fill out and send back to us. Once you click on one of those links, you'll get a check mark that lets you know this is the correct form, you've done all that you need to do with this particular form, and we have the information that you need. I have a question here about black stretch pants or leggings. Again, per our dress code, we need navy blue, white, or khaki colored, and typically leggings do not match our full student code of conduct dress code. So we want to stay away from leggings as much as possible, except for, of course, in sleeping rooms after the conference has wrapped up for the evening. So pack them with you for your comfort and your leisure, but during the program hours, we're looking for our students to be in, like I said, those navy blue, white, and khaki attire.
Question about reading in the classroom, in the classrooms, or speaking in the classrooms. Will you have to, or will it be mandatory to read aloud or to speak in a large group setting? So this being a leadership conference, it is all about that challenge by choice and getting slightly out of your comfort zone. You'll never be asked to mandatorily speak up or read if you don't want to, but it will be encouraged if you're starting to feel more comfortable or in a certain scenario that that you do speak up and share your opinions, and your fellow scholars will want to hear you and want to hear your thoughts and vibe back and forth and have that conversation. And also we do have some simulations and some curriculum that specific character roles will be assigned to students, and some of those character roles do have speaking parts, and the more prominent roles will have speaking parts or maybe a script to read or something like that. So again, it's not mandatory, but if you want to assume one of those more prominent characters or something, we do encourage stepping out of that comfort zone.
Absolutely. And if your students or if your scholars happen to have any learning or reading disabilities, our advisors are well equipped to assist and help with making sure your students feel comfortable to getting to where we need them to get and to where they're looking to go. We also will have a support staff on site who we call the Scholar Relations Team, who will be able to work with your student on more of a one-to-one basis if that is so needed for them.
What are the meal plans? So we don't have menus ahead of time. They're conference style locations. So the way that they do their ordering and menu setting, it's probably like a week or two in advance. But we do have all very kid-friendly food. We'll have days with chicken fingers and fries, or pizza or cheeseburgers or hot dogs and things like that. And then plus some meals, and then we have set meal times as well. So there's a set breakfast time, there's a set lunch time, and a set dinner time. It's an hour long, so it's plenty of time for everybody to eat and relax and get seconds if they want. We want to make sure that everybody's getting the fuel that they need to last throughout the day. And then should you finish early, then there's a little bit of rec time afterwards. You can go hang out at the basketball courts or out in the fields or in one of the scholar activity areas, and then join your group after that hour is over.
Absolutely. A couple of really good questions to address for dress codes. If your student is coming with a raincoat or a jacket, those particular items do not need to match our dress code or the color scheme for the dress code. They can be whatever color you have. Students are not, it is not mandatory for students to wear polo style shirts with collars. T-shirts are acceptable as long as they match the color scheme that we're requiring. And then denim is not a part of our dress code. So if your student is arriving with jeans, again, they will be outside of the dress code. So make sure we're white, navy blue, and khaki.
If you request to be a roommate with someone, is it likely that they will be in your day group? So no, it's not likely that you'll be in a day group. If you would like to request to be in the same day group with somebody, we do take those requests, but we really do try and limit them because part of the conference is reaching out and meeting new people, and if you're rooming with somebody and one of your buddies from home, or a long distance buddy or something like that at night, then you're going to have plenty of time to hang out and form those memories together. But we also want you to branch out and meet new people and form new memories with some people from all over the country that you might not have known before. So it's not necessarily true that if you're rooming with somebody that you'll be in the same day group.
Quick clarifying question about jeans. According to our dress code, jeans are in the denim color scheme, not the navy blue color scheme. So again, we do ask that our students stay away from the denim look for this particular program.
Do you provide Tylenol, ibuprofen, or any of those kind of generic medications, Band-Aids, Neosporin, things like that? So we do have nurses that will be on site during the conference, and so that nurse will consult with a student should they have a headache or need a Band-Aid or anything like that, and they'll work together to make sure that the student is getting taken care of as they need, and and if it's anything serious, there's always reporting back to the family and making sure that the family is kept in the loop with things like that. We do not, staff are not permitted to administer medication, so that is something that is done specifically with the nurse. If a parent is arriving with their student, can they both ride the shuttle? Parents are not permitted to ride the shuttle. Once students come into the conference, which we consider the start of the conference, the arrival at the airport, they're with our staff, and then we take over guardianship of them at that point. We cannot permit parents to be on the shuttle with other students. So no, parents are not permitted to take the shuttle.
Are gym shorts acceptable, or do they need to be button, zip, and belt? We do ask to keep all gym shorts inside of the sleeping room. So if your student packs gym shorts, they can be worn before breakfast and after a room check. But during the program day, we do want to stay away from the gym shorts. Mm-hmm. Good question. And then, are skinny khakis, white or navy pants, okay? Absolutely. We're very fashion forward here. So definitely bring those skinny khakis, white or navy pants. It's a good question.
There was a clarifying question on blankets and sleeping bags, towels. So just again to reiterate, linens and blankets, pillows are provided, but should your scholar have a very specific desire or need for a specific sleeping bag or blanket or pillow, or likes to use 2 towels, please pack extras with them. But those items are provided.
Question is, do we need to hand in medications taken daily, or can the student keep and take their own medication? We do ask that you all fill out our medicine administration form, which gives us the opportunity to know what medications we do have on site. If you would much rather prefer your student keep that medication on them. We do have a team of individuals whose sole purpose is ensuring that medications are taken on time, and they will be taken with a nurse. So if you would like to ensure that medications are being taken on time as you see fit, fill out that medical or that medicine administration form and turn it into us with the medications, because we will be able to drive that process. If we do not have that medication, there are some instances where we may need to go a step further to ensure that the medication is taken. But for your own benefit, if you'd like to ensure that medication is being taken on time and on schedule, the preference for us is fill out the medicine administration form and turn in medication to our nurse on arrival day, and we will manage the administration procedure.
Let's see. Clarifying the schedules that are here as handouts. There's a Saturday to Thursday schedule and a Sunday to Friday schedule. So again, at the top of those schedules, when you're looking at them, it should say the National 4-H Center or the College Park Marriott Hotel or UMUC location, day or residential. And those schedules will vary depending on which location you are and if you are residential or day.
Mm-hmm. What exactly does a room check mean? So similar to attendance checks that happen anytime we move our scholars from A to B, or once they arrive at a academic component or one of our leadership focus groups, a room check is a check that we do overnight, and it is essentially attendance in your sleeping room. So each and every night we have our staff go around to ensure that all of our students are tucked in safely and securely, and that they have all of the information in preparation for the next day's events. So we'll remind them about dress code. We'll remind them about the events that they're taking part in. If we're going off site, we'll remind them to bring jackets in case of poor weather. We'll make sure that they have that money for an opportunity for souvenirs, so things of that nature. That is exactly what the room check process is for. It's just an attendance check to make sure that everyone's basic needs are taken care of, that they're in their rooms, and they're prepared for the next day's events. That's a good question.
Seeing some questions related to dress code around outdoor activities and things like that, and then also what our outdoor activities are. So we do have free time and rec time built into this schedule. During those times, you will just, students will just be in their dress code. There isn't enough time to go back to the room and change clothing. And just with our travel schedule and things like that, we just have the kids stay in their dress code the whole time. And is sports equipment provided? Yes. We do have footballs, soccer balls, volleyballs, jump ropes, frisbees. We've got board games if some students want to stay inside and kind of chill out.
We got brain teasers.
Yeah, got friendship bracelet strings, some Jenga, all sorts of stuff for you.
So whether you're athletic or creative, we have something for you.
I saw another question of how many scholars are in attendance during each session. It varies depending on age group and day in residential. The number of scholars will vary, but it's probably going to be between 200 to 300 students every session. And also just depending on what time of the summer is. Some people are starting school earlier or later or ending school later. So it fluctuates throughout the summer, but it'll be somewhere between 200 and 300 students.
Yeah. Question about recommended amount of money to bring with your scholar to the program or to put on a debit or credit card. To be honest, as a starting place in case of emergencies, I would say $50 to $100 is a really, really good number to have your student arrive to the program with. Now, if you realize in that first day that we go off site or when you're in our housing site, there is actually a souvenir shop there. If you realize that that is not enough, students will have the opportunity to connect with you all and beg for some more money. But I think $50 to $100 is more than enough for you to bring your student for you to accompany your student with to the program.
Saw somebody ask if they can bring their baseball glove and ball. Yeah.
Bring it.
Yeah.
Just make sure they keep up with it. I'm a baseball player myself, so I have my ball and glove as well. So maybe we'll be able to toss a little bit.
Yeah. And then I had mentioned earlier about the some of the swag items that students will get, and one of them is a drawstring little backpack. So just to clarify, yes, we do still want students to bring maybe not like a much bigger backpack, but if they're going to carry a lot of items with them during the day, traveling to museums and things like that, and for the Maryland Science sleepover when they're going to need to bring their pillow and their pajamas and their overnight toiletries and things like that, they're going to need a bigger bag. Also, sometimes in those longer days when we're gone on a field trip all day, sometimes those drawstring bags aren't the most comfortable just because it's thinner little strings. So yes, we do still suggest that you put a spare backpack or something like that, or a tote bag or something in the luggage.
There's a question about the handouts that we mentioned, earlier in the program. They are not currently on the students portal, but if you're looking for them, if you look at the dialog box, either to the right or to the left of your screen, if you access that dialog box, there is a location called handouts, and there are 5 handouts there that you all can download and access at this point in time. So you'll have until 8:30 to access them. So if you're looking for them, you got about 7 minutes before they jump off, and then we will work to get the rest of them uploaded to the student portal once we wrap up today. If you are looking at your screen and you see an orange arrow either pointing to your left or to your right with 3 or 4 icons underneath, that is the dialog box that we're referring to, and you'll want to hit that orange arrow to get the rest of the dialog box to pop out so you can access those handouts.
Let's see, I just saw a question pop up for the Maryland Science sleepover. Do they need to bring a sleeping bag or is it provided? We do ask that you pack a sleeping bag. We have a handful of backup sleeping bags, but it's not enough. So we do for everybody to have one. So please have your scholar pack a sleeping bag with them. Will you have access to room service? I mean, that would be a good Home Alone moment, but no, there's no access to room service. Room service involves putting a credit card on the room and charging that service to the room. So no, we do not have access to that.
Questions about the Maryland Science Center as well. This particular program that particular activity or program event is going to be available to all of our students who are signed up in the residential program. So that's rising 6th graders, 7th graders, 8th graders, and 9th graders. And then it will be available to our day scholars as an additional add-on. So there is no group that will not attend the overnight visit at the Maryland Science Center. So make sure you have your overnight attire and sleeping materials.
Do students get a wake-up call? We do not generally do a wake-up call for everyone every day. During those early mornings, yes, we will. There's at the National 4-H Center, there's a very early morning before the floor of the House of Representatives visit, and that day for sure there's a walkabout of knocking on doors and making sure that everybody is awake. We do take attendance at every opportunity that we have. So in the mornings, if anybody is late, we have a system with our staff members. They radio into to our support staff that will check the rooming list and go double check on rooms and make sure that everybody's up and ready to go for the day.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do here is allow our students to explore independence and leadership, giving them the opportunity or their first experience with working with roommates to make sure that they show up on places on time. We'll give them all the tools necessary to get a good night's sleep and to be available and present at breakfast and their next program component. So with that being said, we will give them a little sense of independence to make sure that they are attending program at events on time, as well as those meals early in the morning. It's a really good question.
There are no showers at the museum. There's normal kind of museum public bathroom set up there. So there are sinks to brush teeth and toilets and things like that, but no, there are no showers there.
Here's also an opportunity for those toiletries to make sure there is a wash rag, a bar of soap in the scholars' small bag or small overnight bag that we take there that they'll be able to use at the Maryland Science Center as well.
I saw a question about the number of students in each room. At the UMUC location, there are going to be 3 students per room, and at the National 4-H Center, there will be 4 students per room.
And for our family members who will be dropping your scholars off with younger or older siblings, cousins, grandmothers who love to come pinch cheeks of their scholars on the way out, our orientation is a friends and family orientation, so it is not specific to parents. So yes, everyone is able to come and be in attendance at that orientation. So definitely, we don't leave anyone out at our programs.
And then touching on this point again, if you do not have a cell phone or don't have a smartphone, a smartphone for pictures, we will have a setup for that, and you'll be emailed the information on how to use that photo sharing portal. And if you need to call home and you don't have a cell phone, we'll have the phone in the office and staff members' phones that you can use to check in if you need to. And then we have about 2 more minutes, so we're going to answer as many questions as we can in 2 minutes, and then we'll wrap up.
Oh, I see. She's looking at it from the phone. Oh, if you do not have access to the dialogue boxes, once we wrap up, we're going to be working to upload all of the forms and documents to our student portal. And the feedback for understanding emerging leaders, or our fuel forms, will be able to access around that June 1st mark, like Brooke mentioned a little bit earlier. Are boys and girls going to be roommates? Oh no. So we do not have any mixed gender sleeping rooms. All of our rooms are split by gender. So our born males and females will be in their respective spaces. Typically, we do our best to separate them by floors as well. So you don't necessarily have guys and gals sleeping on the same hallways either. That's our goal, and that's how our housing sites work to put together the sleeping space as well.
If your scholar needs a room accommodation by themselves, call the Office of Admissions. You'll get connected with us, and we'll make sure that if there's a need for a room by themselves, then we can get that set up.
And for families who are bringing siblings, let's say a brother and sister are attending the program, those may be some one-off situations where, through approval from Brooke and I, we can work to get your scholars in the same sleeping room together. We would hate to shake them up from their norm too much while letting them explore independence and leadership.
And then last question, see, that's a good one. Can students do laundry? So there are laundry facilities on site should a need come up to do laundry. We want to make sure that everybody has the clothing that they need for the week. We can't do every scholar's laundry, but if some kind of emergency comes up where clothing becomes soiled or dirty or something and they don't have anything, they'll just communicate with a staff member to get that that laundry situation set up. Thank you all so much for sticking with us and being a part of it, and being a part of this webinar. Very sorry if we couldn't get to all of your questions tonight. Again, if there's any extenuating circumstances or anything like that, any more detail that you need, you have the student portal. A lot of information is on there. You have access to this webinar and its recording after it's done. I believe it gets uploaded to the student portal as well. Yes, again, please reach out to the Office of Admissions if you have anything else. And we're so looking forward to the summer. We can't wait.
Can't wait to have you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your attendance, and we look forward to seeing you all soon.
Yes, thank you so much.
Bye.
All right, bye.